Hi y'all, we have to talk honestly about language learning as an adult. I think it's because we don't like facing the fact that we're not as young and mentally agile as we used to be, but if we really want to learn a new language after we've graduated school, we can't be lying to ourselves. So let's go over some hard truths that people in their 30s like myself, as well as those in their 40s, 50s, and beyond, have to deal with when learning languages. Attack them face on and figure out ways to overcome or get around them. You cannot memorize as well as you used to. I'm sorry, we have to stop thinking our brains are as plastic as they were when we were in our teens. The memorization process has to take longer and it's gonna be more involved. I remember when I used to hear a word once, I could immediately use it and I would never forget it. Those days are gone, and there's no use crying about it. I immediately have to make a memo about new words I come across and then try to look it up in a dictionary as soon as I possibly can. I have to sit with that word, mull it over in my brain for a while so that it has time to seep in. I use as many memory tricks and mnemonic devices as I can to give my brain the best chance to hold on to what I've learned. It slows down my study speed, but if I try to go over things too fast at my age, it's not going to leave a deep enough of an impression. And in the long run, that rushed study session is going to be a waste of my time because I'm going to forget it and need to relearn it anyway. They say slow and steady wins the race, but in this case, slow and steady keeps memories alive. Do what you can to keep that memory turtle alive. And boy, do memories die. There are so many times that I know a word. I've studied the word, I may have even used the word correctly in a TV show I had to prepare for. I've spent quality time with this word and we've built a life together. But then in the dark of night, when I least expect it, it just leaves me for good. And this only gets more true the older you get. I would say anything I learned before the age of 27 is pretty well stuck in my brain, but anything after that will not stick if I do not regularly come back to it, either through regular exposure or in the case of what I do mostly, flashcards, spaced repetition. It's not that our brains can't remember things, it's that they are resistant to it. And you constantly have to tell it, hey, this is actually important, don't forget it. Reviewing what you've learned is important at any age, but if you're over the age of 30, it's absolutely essential. And the older I get, the more time I have to invest into just reviewing. It's frustrating because you want to learn the new stuff, but in the long run, that's the only way you'll make progress. If you're forgetting old information as quickly as you're learning new stuff, then you're not going to get anywhere. And for Pete's sake, if you're going to go through the effort of reviewing something, make sure you've understood it thoroughly. There is some ability that I've lost along the way where I used to be able to intuit the meaning of words that were ambiguous, not easily translatable, lacking sufficient context. I can't do it anymore. I had the hardest time learning the difference between 속상하다 and 서운하다 in Korean. The same with the difference between 아깝다 and 아쉽다. I understood them eventually, but trying to intuit the difference didn't work because they felt similar in emotion to me. I had to really sit down and have someone explain in great detail what they mean, and then I realized, oh, these are actually quite different. Younger people seem to be able to kind of feel their way through language learning, but I need explicit explanations at this point. No ambiguity. I know immersion is a huge thing in the language learning community, and it's great as a practice and reinforcement method, but I can't use it as a learning method anymore. Language subtleties are completely lost on me. It's just me, sweaty, covered in dirt, hacking and slashing through the language jungle. But you decry, if I go slower, I won't be able to learn anything. Things will be left undiscovered. And my answer is, yeah, probably. I don't want to sugarcoat things, but you really can't expect to compete with someone who is maybe 20 or 30 years younger than you in terms of sheer mass of what you're going to be able to learn. If that's hard for you to swallow, just think about sports. I am 35 years old. If I were to pick up tennis today, do I have any chance in the world of making it to Wimbledon or the Olympics? No. Could I get pretty good over my remaining years? Yeah, I'm sure I could. But my training strategy is going to be very different. If I were in middle school, over the years I'd be trying to address everything about the game so I could potentially go pro. As an adult, I'm just looking to do the things that give me the most bang for my buck and don't injure me. If I never have a good one-handed backhand, so be it. My time and efforts might be better placed elsewhere. It's the same with language learning. When you're older, you just have to be more discerning with what is really worth studying. I work on a news show here in Korea, and I'm constantly coming across science terms and economics terms that I would love to plop in my conversations and spice up my language skills. And sometimes I do try to memorize them, but it's just not worth it. It feels like those are the things that are going to level up my Korean, and if I was younger, maybe I would just say, push harder! But now there are so many other things much more worth my time. You gotta know when enough is enough. And the reason we have to be discerning about what we choose to study and not study is because we are limited by both time and energy. If there are any school-age people watching this thinking, I already don't have time and energy, that might be true. But the problem only gets worse when you step out into the world and get a job or start a family. I remember being very stressed out with my schedule in high school with homework, extracurricular activities, and working for my dad. I wish I could go back to that now. Maybe my schedule was just as hard then as it is now, but I had so much more energy to plow through it. I'm sure a lot of y'all watching this feel the same way. That's why we have to be smart with our study scheduling. You probably know when you are most alert during the day. That's when you must do your intensive brain work like language studying. Difficult tasks like exercise and boring tasks like housework, you can find a way to get through it even if you don't have a lot of mental energy. But language study requires focus. For me, that time is in the morning. There is no possibility of me sitting down for an hour-long study session after work. I will have no focus and my study attempts will be useless. I've learned it's better to just hurry up and get to bed and try again tomorrow in the morning. But that's just me. Some people are night owls, but whatever you are, you put your priority brain work when your brain is working the most. And some of you might be saying, but I have other brain work that I have to be doing during my peak mental performance times. Well, then let's get real. Language learning isn't your priority or isn't able to be your priority, and that's fine. Just don't expect as good of results for your study efforts. It'll cause a lot less stress if you just accept that fact. And hot take, maybe you should give up on trying to learn a language? If you're over 30 like me, you've already survived this long without the language skills, so your study isn't out of true necessity. I think sometimes people feel obligated to study when the best decision might be to give it up if other things take priority. I had to do that very thing with Japanese. I put a lot of time and effort to study Japanese. I lived there for 3.5 years. And I was employed as a translator. I was good, and now I'm not. When I came to Korea, I tried really hard to keep up my language skills, but I didn't have Japanese-speaking friends here. I don't really watch Japanese movies or listen to Japanese music. I was just poring over books and studying flashcards, which I do enjoy because I'm a nerd, but it was a lot of time and effort, and there were other things that I needed to do with my life. If I can be a little overdramatic here, it felt like I was going through a divorce. I dedicated myself to studying Japanese. It was so much a part of my identity, and I had to cut it off because I had a new life here in Korea and my priorities needed to shift. It still makes me sad to think about, but that's kind of part of being an adult. If you really look at your life and think you should be learning a language, but your heart's not in it anymore, and you don't need a grade in school, this is me saying you don't need to learn it. There are a lot of important things in life that you can put your efforts towards. That's one advantage that older people have. We aren't going to school. We probably have a job or career. We have the ability to say, you know what? I've survived up to this point and it's not a genuine priority of mine. I think I'm going to stop pursuing this goal. I realize some people might consider that a negative take, and I feel like this video has gotten bleaker the longer it has gone on, but all is not lost. I think no matter your age, you can have a successful and fulfilling experience studying languages. You just have to keep your expectations in check. Just like with exercise, a 70-year-old can make a huge difference in their health if they are consistent in eating the right foods and exercising regularly. But they're also not going to be learning to do backflips off the high bar at the Olympics. Language learning is just more challenging the older you are. Some of it is situational. We have more responsibilities and less time to invest in languages, and there are lots of biological limitations as well. I might emotionally be a baby, but mentally and physically, I'm decidedly not a baby. And realistically, I'm not going to be able to learn languages like a baby does. I don't have the mental faculties to brute force my way into language fluency anymore. That being said, I don't think that responsibilities and biology are good enough reasons to give up on my goals and dreams. If my current situation, regardless of my efforts, is the only thing that determines my future situation, does free will and self-determination even exist? That is an idea that philosophically irks me to my core. If I'm unable to shape my own destiny, even if in just some small way, why was I given consciousness? That would be the cruelest thing that the universe could do. But that's also pretty on brand for the universe. Are there any other issues that some of you older learners have come across that I didn't mention here? I would love to talk about them in the comments. Until next time, I wish you all great success in your studies, and I hope you are able to enjoy the process as well. Bye, y'all.